Hey there, folks. It's me, you know who, Chuck Moran, and I am here with my program, Online Video Mastery. Super excited to have my friend Kasey Hott on board. Kasey is the news anchor and producer for let's see, Kasey, if I can get this right, the 4 o'clock, the 5 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, the 10 o'clock, and the 11 o'clock news on our NBC 29 affiliate here in Charlottesville. And one thing that I was really interested in, Kasey sent in her profile to me, her little bio. And curiously, Kasey, you left out something that I want to make sure our visitors know about you, which is that you were named the best TV news anchor by the Virginia's Associated Press Broadcasters in both 2020 and 2021. And you earned the Meritorious Award in 2017, 2018, and 2019. So you're not only a good broadcaster and anchor and producer, but you are humble as well.
That is very, very kind. I think there must be something messed up with the voting there. I'm not sure how that happens.
Very good. Well, you were winning awards in college, if I read that correctly, right?
I did. It was really cool. It was a really neat award through ABC News, and I got to go up there and interview with them, and it was amazing.
Very cool. Yeah, so I want to welcome everybody to our Video Creators Roadmap Studio Hours. For those of you who are not familiar, what we do here at the Video Creators Roadmap and Online Video Mastery is we teach people how to recruit, train, and educate using gear that we all have within a couple of feet of us. So this is not like the studio that Kasey's used to broadcasting from. We have the ability, we're walking around with $1,000 cameras in our pockets all the time. And so what we do at Online Video Mastery is teach people how to pull them out and mic up their subjects, pay attention to lighting, and get really quality videos that they can use in marketing, education, recruiting, and training. So that's what we do here. So Kasey, as I mentioned, is our NBC news anchor and producer, and today she's going to be presenting on this topic that I think is going to be very widely of very wide interest to a lot of us. I know that I've been interested in and shied away from sending in news releases because I don't know how to do it well or right. And Kasey's here to fix people like me to show us how to do it right and encourage the media to pick up things like announcements and changes in personnel at our organizations. If we've got somebody who's coming on that's brand new to the organization, celebrating someone who is retiring or moving on, and making those kinds of announcements and making those things successfully pitched to the news media organization. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on Kasey's slides, and Kasey, you can go ahead and take it away.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. This is awesome. And this is a fun thing for me to talk about because it's something that I think I would be very nervous about too, sending out a press release. It's tough. You don't know what you want to say. You have a message, you want to get the word out, which is what we're titling this today, getting the word out, but you're not sure exactly how to go about it and to get results. So hopefully these tips will help you some. So today we're going to talk about how to successfully pitch a story to media outlets.
Yeah, just to hop in here real quick. If anybody has any questions or comments, make sure you just tap into whichever platform you're watching this on. Go ahead into the comment field and make those comments or ask questions, and I'll ask Kasey to address those as we go along, or we may gather them up and answer them at one time. Okay, sorry about the interruption, Kasey.
No, that was perfect. Thank you. So first off, we're going to talk about beats, because I think this is something that is important to know about, that most reporters and journalists that you are going to be pitching to are beat reporters. And so beat reporting is specialized reporting. So it means a reporter covers a specific topic, area, specific subject. It actually got the name from police, walking their beats and the beaten path, what they would walk. And so that's what reporters do in the same way. So they're focused on a particular issue, sector, or even a business or organization or an institution. And it's really important to know that it kind of depends on where, like the higher up, the more specialized those beats are going to become. So when you're talking to, national outlets, things like that, that's where you're going to have people who are really focused in on, specific things, because they have so many resources and they have people who are just dedicated to very, very specific, like, sectors and industries and things. In local news, it's going to be very different. A beat, if you have one, a lot of us are MMJs. We're called multimedia journalists, and we're covering it all. We're doing all kinds of stories. So we're doing feature stories. We're doing, sometimes we'll do sports stories. We're doing, pieces that just come up like news of the day, accidents or fires, things like that. But a lot of news stations, you'll see local news stations have beats. The beats are by county, so like they're kind of mixed, and around here it's like that too. Like Albemarle County is your beat, or Charlotte, or the city of Charlottesville is your beat, or Orange County surrounding, and so it's focused on a location. But knowing who you're pitching to and kind of who is covering what beat is really, really important. So I think that's a really good way. And if you kind of want to know who at a station is specializing in what you're have to offer, what you're sending out, or specializing in that location, just call them up. They'd be happy to tell you.
Cool. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. So on a local level, a beat might include something like electric cars, but in a national organization, you might have somebody just ultra focused on Tesla, or ultra focused on new electric cars as they come out, and that's all she does.
Right. And it's very, it's just with all those resources, you can just kind of hone in like that. So it's good to know that, and good to know, who you're pitching to.
Gotcha.
All right. So we're going to start with making your pitch. It's so important to know that I think, like everyone, we're all crunched for time, right? But reporters, especially so, things are always kind of crazy. Things are happening on the fly that you don't realize are going to happen during the day. So reporters are often kind of struggling with having the time, and they're on the go a lot. So it's really important when you're sending out a message, usually it's through email, but you want to cut through the noise with an effective pitch, because a lot of times people are just getting so many emails. They're being bombarded. We'll talk about exactly how many later. But I thought this was really interesting. I was kind of looking up a study. This is from Muckrack, about why pitch length is so important. And it shows 94% of reporters, journalists, prefer pitches that are 200 words or less. That's probably less than you were thinking, isn't it?
That's a fraction of what I was thinking.
Isn't that crazy? And I think it comes back to what it says right above, where people they're on the go, they're crunched for time. They need things now. And I think that's kind of so nearly half prefer 1 to 200 words, and a quarter of reporters prefer just under 100 words for a pitch. Wow. That's wild, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, hey, tell me what I need to know. Tell me now. And I think that would be a struggle right there, is kind of getting it down, paring it down. But I think knowing that is power, that knowledge is power, knowing that is how short really they're kind of looking for is pretty wild.
Yeah. And with our national attention or international attention spans shortening all the time, we make exactly the same. This is exactly analogous in videos.
Yeah.
Don't take any longer than you really need to. Make sure you do take enough time to get your point across, but make it quick, make it fast, and get a hook right in the beginning if you can, because a reporter isn't going to want you to give your bio right before you get to the meat and potatoes. I'm sure you're going to cover that, but that is amazing. 100 words. Wow. Okay.
I know. I was shocked by that too. So yeah, we're all learning something today. Okay. So it's important to start with a well thought out headline. Reporters kind of like thinking headlines and kind of how this story is going to play. You don't want to use a clickbait like headline though. You see all those clickbaity kind of things that are vague, and instead you just really want to make this informative, easy to understand. So this headline will be kind of like either your first sentence or even your subject line. I think we'll talk about subject lines a little bit more, but you just really, really want this to be thought out and to grab them right from the get-go. Like you said, getting people right from the beginning is important.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. Then once you get them in, you want to bring your details to life. So what proves that your solution or your event or your idea, whatever you're trying to pitch is important, is outstanding, is exceptional. What makes this something that they should really say, hey, this is something we got to follow up on. Hey, we want to call and learn more. So like I was saying about the beats, it's important to tailor your pitch to an area, to the area or your reporter's individual needs. So, like, for us, I think if we received some big national new, like something that was impacting, um, for instance, if we received an email about Russia and the war in Ukraine, and while that is good information, we're a local news station. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's not a lot that we can do with that. And we do receive those all the time. And it's people who are misplacing and sending things kind of where they shouldn't be going. Do you know what I mean? That should be going to a big network, or a big, maybe a station in New York, but someone who can really focus on that and delve into that. Here, we're focused on local news. So it's just kind of keeping in mind who you're pitching to is so important. Otherwise, it just ends up right in the trash.
Quick question for you, Kasey. How would a individual like myself who is trying to make a pitch and follow these tips, how would I find out who my beat reporter is?
I think that would be, people are not going to be, I know it's kind of scary to pick up the phone these days because we're always like, texting and doing email, but people are not going to be upset or annoyed if you just call the station and ask. So if you want to know kind of who's focusing on entertainment at a station, or who's focusing on business news at a station, or things like that, I would just call up and ask. And I think they would be happy that somebody took the time to do that instead of just flooding and mass sending out emails, if that makes sense. Yeah. And using a local current event tie-in can really be a big help. So say it's like the Dogwood Festival in Charlottesville or whatever, kind of showing that you took the time to kind of hone in and like use that festival as like a reason that traffic might be bigger that weekend, and then like how your business helps with traffic, something like that. But using a local current event tie-in can really help, because that's what journalists are looking for, something that ties into what's going on now.
Really makes sense. So in marketing, we've used that term newsjacking. So, if you're aware of something that's coming up, and you really can, if your service or your announcement ties into it nicely. So I see what you're saying. That's really great. You just hook your message onto the train that's already leaving the station, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
All right.
Very cool.
Okay, so who to pitch, who you want to pitch to. So the editor-in-chief, or the news director at a TV station, is the boss of a media publication, and they're ultimately responsible for all the operations and policies. This is probably not who you want to pitch, right? They got a lot of stuff going on. So I feel like it would be very rare that you'd be reaching out to the head of a paper or the head of a news station for your pitch and your story ideas, because that's just kind of not what they're focused on. Editors for print and producers for TV, they usually are assigning the stories to cover, and then they edit those stories. They decide whether or not they run, where they run in their shows. So that's important. I feel like you can pitch to them. I think that is something that they would be open and receptive to, because I think they're always looking for good story ideas, right?
Gotcha.
But who you're mostly going to be pitching to is the journalists and reporters themselves. So they are the ones who actually investigate, they write, they report the news stories themselves. And now we're doing more than ever. I think a lot of people news reporters nowadays are doing multiple stories a day. They're responsible for identifying important trends and coming up with topics that are very well researched. And this is a tip for when you get, again, to those bigger markets or to national. Some reporters are correspondents, and that means they specialize in a field, even more so than beat reporting. That's all they do. And then others are feature reporters, and they cover topics more in depth or write human interest stories. So people who are focused, again, on beats like entertainment, or a beat like business, things like that. But knowing if a station has one of these and then pitching to them directly is a really, really good bet. So columnists, and there are not a lot of these anymore. Bigger TV stations will have them. People just come on and kind of do their opinion pieces or their weekly, and usually they've been there for years. It's kind of going away in TV, but this is something that's big still in papers, and they give opinions, usually their own. They can write about whatever they want, as long as it remains, within good taste. But they have a lot more license than a reporter, and they're not constrained by like the rules of bias that usually covers news writing. And it's something that I don't know, if you can get in with a columnist and kind of share your idea and get it out there, I feel like that's a really, really good way to do something too. So I think it's a group that's often forgotten, but it's a group that could be very, very useful.
Interesting.
Okay, so quality over quantity. So sending a well-crafted pitch that's tailored to the right people is always going to get you better results than sending out just a massive volume of pitches to every email address you can get your hands on. And while that is, it's very tempting to do, I think I would probably just be like, okay, I want to get this out there, and just like, here's a big long list of journalists, mass send. But I think a lot of those probably end up never even being seen because they go straight to spam. Or if they do end up being seen, they're going straight to, because you can tell, right, when it's a mass pitch that's just gone out to everybody. So that's why it's so important to focus on the outlets that you'd like to be featured in, and to find the journalists who cover the topics related to you and your business. So whatever you want to get out there and share. So I think this is something that's really, really important to keep in mind, because I think this is what a lot of people do, is they just think, okay, we're just going to get it out to as many people as we possibly can. And this is very important. Even if it takes you longer, you're going to get a lot better results.
I've noticed with your station, Kasey, I am a big fan, and so I pay attention to how things are being put together. And what you're triggering here in my recollection is that there are relationships that are built between these reporters, journalists, and the organizations that are trying to get the word out. I can think of a major nonprofit in our area that seems to have the same reporter come out and keep covering those same stories. So what I'm getting at, of course, is that it sounds like it's not shouldn't just be a one-time shot. I mean, if you know that a reporter is covering that type of beat, that type of interest area, then nurture the relationship, right?
Right. Yeah, this could be a continued thing. And you're right. I mean, everything comes down to when you're meeting people in person, when you form those relationships, they often continue. So this could be something that, even though it takes longer at the beginning, it pays off in the end.
Great.
Okay. So next, we are going to talk about crafting your subject line. So this is a little bit more kind of in depth than the headline, but this is what determines whether your email is going to be opened or trashed. And I think this is very, very true. Again, 7 to 9 words. And I think when you get those long headlines, and I think that's maybe I think a lot of people just do delete those. So 7 to 9 words. It's important in those 7 to 9 words, as much as you can, to incorporate relevant current events, to use a startling statistic, or to hint at a unique solution to a common problem that a lot of the viewers or the readers are facing. So doing that in 7 to 9 words is tricky.
Yeah, really.
But if you do, and if you manage that, you have a lot better chance of being read and getting your idea out there.
Super
I wonder
helpful.
if this is something you could use like ChatGPT for. Just say, this is my idea, and or one of those. I mean, AI. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's really true. I'm studying that more and more these days, and using it in different things. I actually created a script for a firefighter recruitment video not long ago, and had to do very little editing to it. Submitted it to the fire station for approval. The chief liked it. And I created the video as a gift for the fire department. And but yeah, it all came out of ChatGPT. So for those of you who don't know, you literally can go into ChatGPT and say, write me a 7 to 9 word headline with this type of tone and that kind of thing. So you could actually craft your entire news release properly with ChatGPT, but then of course go back and make sure that all the items are correct about it and add your own voice and that kind of thing. But I think of ChatGPT as an assistant,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
help you get started, get over the blank screen syndrome.
Yeah. I think that is a great way to look at that. All right. So create a compelling introduction. So you got them with your subject line. You have just a couple of seconds, though, again, to make your case and hook the reader. And so you want to skip. And I thought this was interesting. I was kind of looking up what reporters like. They say that you really want to skip the typical formalities, the typical kind of compliments that are kind of empty because you don't know this person, right? Sometimes maybe it's true, like, oh, I really like your work, or but a lot of times it's just, it's just copy pasted to everyone. And it's just, and so instead of getting through that, or hi, I am a blah, 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 you want to get just right into it, So try not to be kind of like overly friendly, kind of like you're trying to butter them up. I think journalists see through that. Instead, you want to just really kind of get right to the point that you're trying to make, and why this is important now, and why this is relevant to your audience, to their audience, to the readers, to the viewers.
That really makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so the body of your pitch, you got them interested, you got them past that first sentence. You want to keep them reading. So you want to identify the problem that you're talking about and its impact on readers or viewers. You want to briefly introduce yourself a little bit later down, and explain your area of expertise, why you're the person to talk to about this. And you want to explain your unique solution to the problem. So it's so important to keep this simple, clear. You want to avoid like technical jargon unless you're really talking to one of those people who are, just Tesla, like reporters. And so unless you're pitching to a specific trade publication in that industry, you want to keep this simple. You want to talk about your story, or you want to talk about a problem and say why you're the person to talk to about this.
Interesting. This all makes so much sense. I really appreciate you putting it together for us. I'm learning a lot.
I feel like I learned a lot putting it together, so it's good information. And you want to end with a call to action. So what's the next step? And with this, you don't really have to overthink it. Just be simple and direct. I think a lot of ones I like that they're kind of like, hey, this sounds like something you're interested in. Just give me a call. Here's my number. You can call anytime, or text, or email. And again, resist the urge to spam. Following up is a good thing. I think we're going to talk about that. Following up is good, but no one likes getting endless emails saying, hey, did you see my last email? Hey, per my last. And we get those all the time, like for days. And yeah. Wow. And that it's not going to you, right? Like it's very easy to tell that this is just going to everyone. Wow. And so I'm talking across the country, like stations. And so, yes, this happens a lot. You don't want to be that person. A nice follow-up is good. I think we're about to talk about that, but not spamming people every day.
Wow. Yeah. Things to avoid.
Yeah. This is something we were talking about, ChatGPT. This is crazy. I did not realize this, but you can use the power of AI to send personalized pitches faster. And there are even AI-powered journalist pitch engines. Whoa. So specifically, like beyond ChatGPT, which I'm sure could do it too, there are pitch engines designed for this, which is crazy, but it makes sense. Yeah. So if you Google, you'll find them. And it's just designed to craft a pitch, which is really, again, you're probably going to want to tweak it, make it more your own, but I think that's really interesting. And if you're reaching out to a large number of journalists, this can really save you a lot of time. So I thought that was pretty wild.
It really is. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that.
Okay. So remember, journalists and editors, they are flooded with press releases, media pitches, all kinds of other demands on their time and attention, just like all of us are. But 47% of journalists, about half, say they get at least 11 pitches per day. 29% get over 26 pitches a day. And I am sure there's a lot that are even more. Like when you get up to the networks, and when you get up to a big station, and it's crazy. Like you're just bombarded. So that's why we were talking about it's so important to cut through all that noise. And knowing what to include in your pitch and what to leave out will greatly improve those chances of getting a reply. But yeah, that's over 26 a day. That's a lot just in your email inbox.
No kidding. Yeah.
Okay, so determining newsworthiness. Before you send or like kind of craft your pitch, you're going to want to think like a reporter. You want to ask yourself the following questions, and then ask yourself this again after you're done, kind of like looking through everything. But why is it important to tell this story now? Why is this timely? Why is this worth getting out there? Is my story's angle engaging enough for the target audience? And does the story or angle create an emotional response? And that might not always be yes, but if it does, you really, really want to play on that. But I think the now is so important because we get emails, from specialists all the time, like, oh, hi, I'd love to come on and talk about health, and it's just so like, but if you say, hey, I saw that in your area, there is actually an outbreak of measles right now. And we have been studying this for years, especially in areas like yours. And we really can speak to kind of what could happen here. That is going to get attention. Does that make sense? So really, really tailoring it and saying why it's important to your area, why it's important now is a big thing.
Wow. Interesting.
And then again, another thing about why is your story important? So is it timely? So now, that's the now thing. Does it relate to a trending topic, a current event, something happened in national news? Is it relevant? Does it relate to an approaching holiday, activity, or anniversary? We get so many around Memorial Day, saying, hey, Memorial Day travel coming up. We can talk about safety tips or tips out on the road or what to do, for your car before you go out on a vacation. Things like that. We probably will call back, because it's good, timely, easy stuff to get out there that people, it does help people. And then does it connect with the target audience? So tell the media outlet why you're offering them this story. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. And before you hit send, just like any email, you want to proofread. And after a week or so, you want to follow up with an email or even a quick phone call. If you do that, most people don't do that anymore. It's just still an email, but I don't think anybody would be offended or annoyed. It's just, you kind of got to time it around. For TV, you got to time it around news hours because there's a lot of times that people just are out on stories or not able to talk with you. So for the follow-up email or call or social media message, like a LinkedIn, it can help remind the editor or reporter to read your pitch if they haven't done it already. Like, oh, like I kind of feel bad that I missed that, and then go back and find that. But this also helps to create a personal connection, right? I think the ones that are using robots to send them out to everyone and send in those long lists, they're not really going to take the time to do this. And so if somebody reaches out and you can tell it's a email to you, like, hey, Kasey, just checking to see, I think that's you're going to get a way better reply with that.
It really makes sense. That brings up a quick question, which is lead time. I know you all are always putting together things at the last minute, just nature of the beast. But so based on this slide, should we begin our process a week ahead of our event, or let's just say the event. Let's say somebody's retiring, or it is Memorial Day, and we've got a traffic hint or something that'll help. Yeah. Should we start a week ahead, or more, or less?
That's really good. That's a good question. I would say maybe about a week is the sweet spot because I do get a lot of emails from people requesting coverage, and they say, hey, we have this awesome event. It's coming up August 24th. And you're like, okay, that's great. But nobody, especially in news, it's day by day by day. And so that's just going to get forgotten, unless you reach back out. So I always just tell those people, thank you so much. That does sound like something we'd like to cover. But if you could just remind us or reach out closer to the event, because something like that's just going to get lost. So if you have a business opening, if you have anything like that, I think just about a week is the sweet spot. Any more than that is just going to be forgotten.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And then are most newsrooms, and I'm talking about print as well as broadcast media, do they pretty much all follow the same sort of system that a week would work sort of across the media landscape?
I would think so, because I think everything, like I was saying, is just kind of day by day by day. I think a lot of papers and TV stations, even, we will do stories that are kind of evergreen that can run at any time. But I think when it comes down to what we're covering on the day, it's pretty much decided on that day, on that morning. So I think getting it on people's radar like a week or the week of even is good. But I think any more than that would just be just kind of like noise. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Great.
I know it's weird, but it's so true. And then finally, you guys, you got this. I know it seems like intimidating. We were just saying, like, how do I even start? How do I pitch my idea? How do I pitch this story? But we're all people too. And we're always like really excited when we hear about, a new business or a new program that's helping kids or a new, something new that we didn't know about before. But a brief, well thought out pitch, an email like that, just kind of making people aware why it's important now. It makes all the difference. And I think you're really, really going to see that. So if anybody has any questions about anything I talked about today, I know, I mean, I am not the expert on this, but it's just kind of what I've seen over my time here, but I'd be happy to help, and you can reach out to me anytime. That's my email address right there. But no, I think it's a really, really good subject, because I think it's something that we could all use help with, and I hope this was a little bit helpful today.
Yeah, super helpful, Kasey. Yeah, I'm just realizing how many things that when I've thought them through or even tried them, I've realized how poorly I've handled them. So this has really been helpful. Let's see. Let me pop up a question that we've got from Samantha Savage. If you have a similar event happening twice a year, say April and November, do you recommend reaching out to a news outlet both times or only once, since it's a similar story?
You know what? I think I would go ahead and do that twice, because it's timely, it's happening then. And I think even with a similar story, I think it is something that a lot of times, I mean, in smaller markets like ours, if it's a good story, if it's a good event, we kind of need things to cover, good things to cover. And we would be happy to hear about that. So no, don't feel bad or be like, oh, I just did this similar event a few months ago. I think they'd still be happy to hear about it and probably come out.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, Sam is the local chapter head for a really cool organization called Girls on the Run. And so she's got some really, really great content helping young girls learn all kinds of things, not just how to run fast.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah.
That is something we would love to cover, especially if you're in this area. Yeah, reaching out to Marty now that he's back, Marty Hutloff. That would be he would be on that.
Write that down, Sam.
Yes, yeah,
Seriously.
he would be all over that, and he's a really good storyteller.
He is, and actually, I've been meaning to write to Marty to welcome him back, Kasey, and also to tell him that I'm just loving his stories. I don't know if he's always been like this, but he's doing much more in-depth, behind the scenes kind of stuff,
Yeah.
getting into personalities and behind the scenes stories. So Sam, there you go. Marty Hutloff, he's your guy. Yeah, that's really good. Does anybody else have any questions? We'll be happy to address those while we're here. So Sam is grateful. Thank you both. So we appreciate that. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm
So
excited to see that story out there.
yeah, yeah, it's great. Yeah, I think anything with kids, they say babies and puppies work, but girls that are starting to learn how to, flourish as becoming more and more self-actualized, starting in middle school and that kind of thing. My own granddaughters have been through that program, and they are still running now that one's getting ready to go into college. She's on the track team, and the other one runs and does athletics, mostly around soccer. They both the other one plays softball. So those kinds of programs are really, really helpful. And like you say, Kasey, they're very appealing to a news organization.
Most definitely. Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. So if anybody else has any questions, go ahead and pop them up, and make sure you screenshot this or make a note of Kasey's email address. She'll be happy to respond to you, I'm sure. And remember to make your subject line 7 to 8 words long.
It's tough.
Even if you're just asking her a question, don't go over 9 words.
Oh no, don't worry about it with me. I'll read it.
I'm just kidding. So yeah, well, I really do appreciate it, Kasey. You've been a super help, and let me take this down. So Thank you very much. And we'll look forward to maybe getting you back if people have any further in-depth stuff that they'd like to dig into.
Perfect. That sounds wonderful. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Well, take care. All right, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you out there. And don't forget, let's go out there and make some great videos.